The stadium was packed. Thousands of fans chanted, their voices blending into a deafening roar. The game had just ended, and LeBron James was making his way off the court, sweat dripping from his forehead. He had given his all, as always. But just as he reached the tunnel, a voice cut through the noise. "LeBron, you scared to take on a real challenge?" The crowd fell silent. Cameras turned. Security tensed up. Standing near the front row was a young man, mid-20s with fire in his eyes. He wasn't just another heckler. There was something different about him. LeBron stopped, turned, and smirked. "What kind of challenge are we talking about?" The man stepped forward. "One-on-one. Right here. Right now." The audience gasped. Social media exploded. Who was this guy? Was he serious? LeBron chuckled, shaking his head. "Man, I don't do street challenges. Enjoy the game." But the man wasn't backing down. "You always say you never back away from competition. Prove it." The words hung in the air. The tension was thick. Fans started chanting, "Do it! Do it!" LeBron studied the challenger. There was something familiar about him. He glanced at his security team, then back at the young man. "All right," LeBron said, taking a step back onto the court. "Let's see what you got." The stadium erupted. The cameras zoomed in. The internet was about to witness something unforgettable. Before we dive into this epic battle, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what happens next. The stadium was electric. The challenge had been set, but no one knew if LeBron would truly go through with it. He was a 4-time NBA champion, a living legend. Why would he waste his time on some random fan? LeBron crossed his arms and studied the young man. The fire in his eyes, the unwavering stance. He wasn't just here for attention. He truly believed he could take on one of the greatest of all time. LeBron smirked. "You got a name, kid?" The young man didn't flinch. "Dante." LeBron raised an eyebrow. "All right, Dante. You really think you can beat me?" Dante nodded. "I don't just think, I know." The crowd roared. This was getting serious. Security hesitated, unsure whether to intervene. But LeBron lifted a hand, signaling them to stand down. He turned to the officials still on the court. "Ball," he said. An official tossed him a basketball. LeBron dribbled it slowly. His gaze locked onto Dante. "You got confidence, I'll give you that," LeBron said. "But confidence doesn't win games." "Skill does." Dante cracked a smile. "Guess we'll find out." LeBron chuckled, tossing the ball to Dante. "All right then, let's see what you got, kid." The crowd erupted again, sensing history in the making. The cameras zoomed in, social media was blowing up. The energy in the arena was unreal. Fans were on their feet, phones out, recording what was shaping up to be an unforgettable moment. Commentators, still seated courtside, had abandoned their usual analysis and were now fully engaged in the spectacle unfolding before them. Folks, I don't know what we're witnessing here, but this might be the most unexpected showdown in basketball history, one of them exclaimed. Security personnel exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't part of the script. Should they step in? But LeBron seemed relaxed, even intrigued. He spun the ball in his hands as Dante stretched his arms, rolling his shoulders like a player about to enter the game of his life. In the crowd, reactions were mixed. Some fans cheered, hyped by the sheer audacity of it all. Others shook their heads, convinced this was a waste of LeBron's time. "Man, this kid's about to embarrass himself," a man in a Lakers jersey muttered. "Or maybe," his friend countered, "he knows something we don't." Meanwhile, on social media, the challenge had already gone viral. Clips of Dante calling out LeBron were being shared at lightning speed. Sports analysts, influencers, and even former players were chiming in with their takes. Back on the court, LeBron dribbled the ball a few times before passing it back to Dante. The young man caught it smoothly, his eyes never leaving LeBron's. "You sure you want to do this?" LeBron asked one last time, his voice calm but firm. Dante simply nodded. LeBron smiled. All right then, let's play. The stadium erupted. This wasn't just a pickup game anymore. This was personal. The game hadn't even started yet, but the tension in the air was thick. Fans leaned forward in their seats, eager to see who this bold young man was and why he had the nerve to challenge one of the greatest basketball players of all time. LeBron dribbled the ball slowly, observing Dante. All right, kid, you got the guts, but I gotta ask, who are you? Dante took a deep breath, his expression unreadable. You don't remember me, do you? LeBron frowned slightly. He studied Dante's face, the determination in his eyes, the way he carried himself. There was something familiar about him, but he couldn't quite place it. I grew up watching you, Dante continued. I studied your moves, your mentality. You were my hero. LeBron nodded. He had heard this before. Millions of kids idolized him, but there was something different in Dante's voice. My father was a basketball coach, Dante went on. He taught me everything he knew. He told me if I wanted to be the best, I had to learn from the best. So, I watched you. Every game, every play. LeBron narrowed his eyes. Who's your father? Dante took a step forward, gripping the ball tightly. Marcus Carter. A hush fell over the crowd. The name rang a bell, and LeBron's face changed. Marcus Carter. A former college basketball star with NBA potential. He had been one of the brightest young talents before a career-ending injury took everything away. LeBron remembered him. A fierce competitor. Someone who could have made it big. LeBron exhaled, nodding slowly. Marcus Carter. Yeah, I remember him. He was a hell of a player. Dante's jaw tightened. He was more than that. He was my father. And he always told me that one day, I'd get my shot against the best. That's you. The realization hit LeBron. This wasn't just some random challenge. This was personal. Dante wasn't here for clout. He was here to prove something. LeBron dribbled the ball one last time before tossing it back to Dante. All right, Dante. Let's see if your father taught you well. The crowd erupted again, the stakes now higher than ever. This was no longer just a game. This was legacy versus ambition, and it was about to begin. The weight of Dante's words lingered in the air. LeBron dribbled the ball absent-mindedly, his mind racing back years, back to a time when Marcus Carter was a name people talked about with excitement and admiration. Marcus had been a rising star in college basketball, a player with undeniable talent and the heart of a warrior. Some even said he had the potential to be the next big thing, someone who could have gone toe-to-toe with LeBron himself. But fate had other plans. LeBron finally spoke. I remember your father. He was special. Dante nodded. Yeah, he was. But he never got his shot. It was true. During his final college season, Marcus suffered a devastating knee injury, one that shattered his NBA dreams overnight. Scouts stopped calling. Teams moved on. Just like that, his career was over before it even began. LeBron sighed. It wasn't fair, your dad had real talent. Dante's hands clenched into fists. He never let it break him, though. He taught kids how to play, how to fight through adversity. And he taught me everything he knew. LeBron watched Dante carefully. He could see the fire in the young man's eyes, the same fire he had seen in Marcus all those years ago. Dante took a deep breath. My father always told me that if things had gone differently, he would have faced you one day. But he never got that chance. So now, I'm here to finish what he couldn't. LeBron nodded slowly, letting the words sink in. This wasn't just about proving himself. Dante was carrying his father's legacy on his shoulders. LeBron bounced the ball once, then twice. All right, kid, I respect that. But respect won't win you this game. Dante's lips curled into a determined smirk. I know. That's why I'm ready to earn it. The atmosphere in the stadium shifted. This was no longer just a spontaneous challenge. It was a battle of fate, a moment years in the making. And it was about to begin. LeBron stood at the center of the court, his mind focused, his body still. For a moment, the noise of the crowd faded away, and all he could hear was the rhythmic bounce of the basketball in his hands. This wasn't just another game. It wasn't another highlight reel for the fans or the cameras. This was something deeper. He had faced countless challenges in his career. From high school to the NBA, from rookie seasons to championships, he had been through it all. But there was something about this moment, the weight of legacy, the passion in Dante's eyes, that made it different. He looked across the court at Dante, who stood with a quiet intensity, his eyes locked onto LeBron, waiting for the first move. The young man wasn't scared. He wasn't intimidated. And that in itself was impressive. LeBron took a deep breath. He knew how to handle pressure. He had been trained for moments like this. But Dante was more than just an opponent. He was the embodiment of Marcus Carter's unrealized dream. And LeBron wasn't about to let that dream die today. "All right," LeBron muttered under his breath, his voice calm and steady. "Let's show him why I'm still the king." He dribbled the ball a few more times, shifting his weight, his legs bending slightly as he got into his stance. He wasn't just preparing physically. He was preparing mentally. The key to beating an opponent like Dante wasn't just skill. It was psychology. It was knowing when to strike, when to dominate, and when to give just enough hope to make the victory all the sweeter. Dante had heart, but heart alone wasn't enough to take down someone like LeBron. LeBron raised his head, catching Dante's eyes one last time. There was no more talking, no more distractions. It was time to play. He passed the ball to Dante, signaling the start of their one-on-one showdown. The entire stadium held its breath. This was it, the moment of truth. The crowd was buzzing with anticipation, but before the game could truly begin, LeBron raised his hand, signaling for the momentary pause. The court fell into a brief silence as LeBron looked at Dante, the ball resting on the floor between them. "All right, Dante," LeBron began, his voice calm but carrying authority. "We need to set the terms. I don't do pickup games without rules." Dante nodded, his eyes still locked on LeBron, showing no sign of hesitation. "I'm listening." LeBron took a step back, thinking it through. He wasn't just playing for himself now. This was about something bigger, about legacy, respect, and a moment that Dante had waited his whole life for. But he wasn't going to make it easy. He wanted to test Dante, to see if he had the real grit to back up his ambition. "First," LeBron said, pointing at the arc of the three-point line, "no easy shots. We're playing old school. Everything inside the arc counts for 2 points. Outside, 3 points. No layups unless it's earned." Dante gave a nod, his jaw clenched in determination. "Second," LeBron continued, "no fouls. This is a game of skill, not strength. If you get too physical, we're done." "Fair enough," Dante responded, his voice firm. LeBron dribbled the ball once and tossed it to Dante. "And lastly," LeBron said, locking eyes with him, "we play to 11. First one to 11 points wins. But the game isn't over until I say it is. You ready?" Dante took the ball, feeling the weight of the moment. "I was born ready." LeBron smiled slightly. "Let's see if that's true." With that, the game was set. The terms were clear, and both players understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about winning or losing. This was a battle of wills, a clash of dreams, and the first move would decide who would control the momentum. As the crowd held its breath, LeBron moved into position, ready for whatever Dante would throw at him. The game wasn't just starting. It was about to become a fight for legacy. The sound of the basketball bouncing echoed throughout the arena as LeBron and Dante squared off. The atmosphere was electric. Every eye in the stadium was fixed on them, every phone screen capturing the historic moment. The tension was palpable. This wasn't just a game of basketball. This was personal. LeBron dribbled the ball a few times, sizing up Dante. The young challenger didn't back down, standing firm, ready to face the king. Dante was no rookie. His movements were sharp, controlled, his posture confident. LeBron had expected nothing less, but seeing it up close made it all the more real. With a nod, LeBron made the first move. He faked left, then quickly shifted right, charging toward the basket. Dante reacted instantly, positioning himself for defense. The crowd held its breath as LeBron rose for a quick layup, but Dante, with impressive speed, swatted the ball away, sending it bouncing off the rim. The arena erupted in cheers and gasps. Dante had just blocked LeBron James. LeBron smiled, a flash of admiration in his eyes. "Nice move, kid," he said, quickly recovering the ball. He wasn't fazed. If anything, it only made him more determined. Dante didn't gloat. He remained focused, his eyes fixed on LeBron. This wasn't just about the block. It was about proving something much bigger. LeBron dribbled out to the three-point line, testing Dante's defense from a distance. With a sudden burst of speed, he drove hard to the hoop again. Dante stayed with him, moving his feet to keep pace. This time, LeBron pulled up for a jumper, taking a quick shot from mid-range. The ball sailed through the air and swished through the net. 2 points, LeBron called out, dribbling back to his spot. The score was now 2-0, LeBron in the lead. But Dante wasn't deterred. He wasn't here to fold under pressure. He gathered himself, ready to respond. Dante dribbled the ball, studying LeBron's stance. He wasn't just trying to catch up. He was trying to outthink him. After a few moves, he saw an opening. With a quick crossover, he drove past LeBron and made a clean layup to tie the score at 2-2. The crowd roared with excitement. Dante's confidence was undeniable, and the fans were eating it up. LeBron nodded in approval. "I like that," he said, standing at the top of the key. "But I'm not done yet." The intensity was rising with every possession. This wasn't just a game anymore. This was a battle, and neither player was willing to back down. Dante's heart was pounding in his chest as he faced LeBron, his mind racing. This was the moment he had dreamed of his entire life. Every drill, every hour spent training in the gym, every shot he had taken over the years, all of it had led to this one chance. But now, standing on the court against the man who had been his idol for as long as he could remember, he couldn't afford to get overwhelmed. The crowd's roar was deafening, but Dante blocked it out. The sound of the ball bouncing, the squeak of sneakers on the hardwood, the rhythmic beat of his own breath, those were the things he focused on. He wasn't here for validation. He was here to prove something, to himself, to his father's legacy, and to everyone who thought he was just another hopeful dreamer. As LeBron dribbled the ball, Dante took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the challenge. This wasn't just about playing basketball. It was about proving that the years of watching, learning, and waiting had been worth it, that he could stand toe-to-toe with a living legend. When LeBron sank that mid-range jumper, taking the score to 2-0, Dante didn't flinch. He knew he couldn't afford to make mistakes. He had watched LeBron play for years, analyzed his every move, and studied the way he dominated on the court. Now it was his turn. Dante looked up, meeting LeBron's eyes. There was no fear there, only resolve. This was his moment. He quickly bounced the ball, mentally preparing for the next to play. The score was now 2-0, but Dante wasn't worried. He knew he had what it took. He had to stay patient, stay composed. He wasn't going to let LeBron dictate the game. He faked a move to the left, then quickly drove to the right, breaking past LeBron's defense. The king was quick, but Dante had trained for this moment. With a swift layup, he scored, bringing the game to 2-2. The crowd erupted in applause, and Dante felt a surge of adrenaline. He had just scored on LeBron James. He quickly regained possession of the ball, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. This wasn't just a win for him. It was for his father, too. Marcus Carter had never gotten his shot at greatness, but Dante was doing it for him. He had the chance to carry his father's dream to places his dad could never go. Every move, every play had a deeper meaning. He wasn't just playing basketball anymore. He was playing for everything. As the game continued, Dante knew there was still a long way to go. But with every basket, with every point he scored, He was proving not just to the crowd, but to himself that this was more than a game. It was a legacy in the making. LeBron had seen it all in his career. Young challengers, full of energy, hungry to make their mark. But something about Dante was different. The way he moved, the way he carried himself, there was a quiet intensity about him that LeBron hadn't seen in many players. After Dante tied the score at 2-2, LeBron knew he had to adjust. He had faced countless opponents who were hungry for fame, but Dante wasn't just playing for the spotlight. LeBron could see the deeper drive in him, something that went beyond the game itself. This wasn't just about basketball. It was about legacy. LeBron bounced the ball a few times, his mind already working through his strategy. He wasn't just going to overpower Dante with brute strength or speed. He knew that was a rookie mistake. Dante had heart and focus, and those were harder to break. Instead, LeBron decided to test his endurance. He slowed the pace of the game, controlling the ball and making deliberate moves. He was going to force Dante to work harder for every shot, tire him out, and find the cracks in his defense. "Stay patient," LeBron muttered to himself. "Don't rush." LeBron faked a few moves, dribbling to the right before pivoting quickly to the left, pushing for an opening. Dante stayed with him step for step, but LeBron's experience in these high-pressure situations was starting to show. He knew how to wear his opponent down. After a few more quick fakes and some strategic dribbles, LeBron saw his chance. Dante was just a step behind, and LeBron launched himself toward the hoop, finishing with a quick, smooth dunk. The crowd went wild. 4-2, LeBron called out, his confidence growing. But he wasn't done. LeBron knew that Dante's youth and energy would give him an edge in the beginning, but in the later stages of the game, experience would have the upper hand. LeBron dribbled again, slowly walking to the top of the key, forcing Dante to stay in his defensive stance. He knew that Dante had the potential to make big plays, but what the young challenger didn't have yet was the ability to manage his stamina when the game got grueling. As he looked up, LeBron saw the signs. Dante's quick movements were starting to slow ever so slightly. LeBron could feel the shift, and that's when he decided to go on the offensive again. He needed to push harder, to make Dante second-guess every move. This game was far from over, but LeBron's strategy was beginning to take shape. He wasn't just playing for the win, he was teaching Dante a lesson. The path to greatness was never easy, and the king wasn't about to let anyone forget why he was at the top. An unexpected twist, 25-27-30. Just as LeBron was beginning to take control of the game, Dante surprised him. After LeBron's dunk, the score was 4-2, and the crowd could feel the momentum shifting in LeBron's favor. Dante, however, wasn't ready to let the king have the upper hand just yet. He was playing the game differently now, absorbing LeBron's pressure, but also learning. LeBron had expected Dante to show signs of fatigue. After all, he was the more seasoned player. But Dante wasn't slowing down. In fact, he was becoming more focused, more determined with each passing second. There was a change in his eyes. He wasn't just fighting for victory anymore. He was fighting for something bigger. Dante dribbled the ball slowly, staying calm as LeBron guarded him closely. LeBron shifted his stance, anticipating a quick move to the hoop. But Dante didn't bite. Instead, he took a deep breath and pulled back, opting for a mid-range jump shot. The ball flew through the air with perfect form, smooth, fluid, and precise. For a moment, it seemed to hang in the air, time stretching as if the entire stadium was holding its breath. The shot dropped through the net without touching the rim. The crowd went wild. Dante had just scored a clean, perfect shot against LeBron. For a second, LeBron stood still, impressed. That was a shot of a player who knew his craft. LeBron quickly regained his composure, but something had changed. The confidence that had been radiating off of him was now challenged. This wasn't going to be as easy as he thought. Dante had proven something in that moment. He wasn't just some hopeful kid. He wasn't overwhelmed by the spotlight. He had the skills and the mental fortitude to play with the best. LeBron started to adjust his thinking. He wasn't just playing against a challenger now. He was facing someone who was evolving in real time, who was matching him, shot for shot. Dante wasn't folding under pressure. He was thriving in it. As they reset, LeBron knew the game had taken an unexpected turn. This wasn't about legacy anymore. It was about survival. The court, the crowd, and the stakes were all higher now. And as they both locked eyes, it was clear that neither one was ready to back down. This game was becoming something neither of them had anticipated. As the game continued, the energy in the arena was palpable. But amidst the intense back and forth between LeBron and Dante, something felt different. LeBron couldn't quite put his finger on it, but there was an underlying tension that went beyond the basketball court. It wasn't just a challenge. Dante was playing for something much deeper than pride or victory. After Dante had tied the game at 4-4, there was a moment when he paused for a brief second, just enough to catch his breath and gather his thoughts. LeBron, ever vigilant, kept his eyes locked on him, but it was hard to ignore the change in Dante's demeanor. His focus was unwavering, but there was a kind of quiet determination in his face. It wasn't just about beating LeBron anymore. In that pause, something clicked in LeBron's mind. He had been so focused on the game that he hadn't taken a moment to understand why Dante had challenged him in the first place. This wasn't just about a fan wanting to test the legend. It was about something more personal, more profound. Dante was playing with the weight of a dream that wasn't his own. As the pieces came together, LeBron remembered the stories he had heard about Dante's father, Marcus Carter, the former player who had faced a broken career, dreams cut short. Dante had inherited not just the love for the game, but the unfinished legacy of a man who had never gotten his shot at greatness. LeBron wasn't just playing for the win now. He was playing for redemption, for Dante, for Marcus, for the unspoken dreams that had been passed down. The crowd noticed the shift too. It wasn't just a game anymore. The story had evolved. They weren't watching just a one-on-one contest. They were witnessing the culmination of years of hopes, sacrifices, and untold stories. Dante's eyes were now more intense than ever, but it wasn't out of anger or pride. He wasn't trying to prove LeBron wrong or to claim the title of king. What he was trying to prove was that his father's dream wasn't in vain, that the story didn't end with Marcus Carter. LeBron took a deep breath, understanding the gravity of the moment. This was more than a challenge. This was the culmination of a life's work, a father's love, and a son's unyielding drive. Dante's fight wasn't against him. It was a fight to honor the legacy that had shaped him. LeBron looked at Dante once more, and for the first time in the game, he saw him not just as a challenger, but as someone who, like him, was fighting for something bigger than himself. The game had entered its final stages, and the air was thick with anticipation. The score was tied at 9-9, with both players 1 point away from victory. The crowd's energy had reached a fever pitch, but it was clear that the true battle was taking place in the minds of both LeBron and Dante. The court, the crowd, the world, it had all disappeared for them. There was only one moment left, one last play that would define everything. LeBron had never faced a challenge like this. Not because of the skill, not because of the competition, but because of the fire Dante carried inside him. Every time LeBron made a move, Dante matched him, refusing to back down. The king was used to taking control of the game, but this time, he found himself pushed to the very edge of his limits. Dante was breathing heavily, sweat dripping down his face, but his focus never wavered. He had come this far, and he wasn't about to let it slip away now. This wasn't just a game of basketball. It was his chance to honor his father's legacy, to prove that the dreams of a man who had never made it were still alive in him. LeBron was sizing him up, feeling the pressure of the moment. He knew Dante was close to exhaustion, but the kid wasn't showing it. The young challenger was playing smarter now, moving with a precision that showed experience far beyond his years. LeBron was impressed. He wasn't just facing a fan. He was facing someone who had earned every second of this fight. They both stood at the top of the key, eyeing each other. LeBron dribbled the ball slowly, then made a feint to the right, driving hard toward the basket. Dante anticipated the move, staying in front of him, his feet quick and steady. LeBron pushed harder, trying to shake Dante off, but the challenger wasn't giving him an inch. With a swift spin move, LeBron cleared the last bit of space and went up for the dunk. But at the last second, Dante leaped, arms extended, swatting the ball out of LeBron's reach. The crowd gasped in disbelief. He had blocked the king. Dante's heart raced as he grabbed the ball, taking a deep breath. He had just denied LeBron at the rim, something most players could only dream of. This was his moment, his shot at redemption. With the ball in his hands, Dante dribbled to the other side of the court, the final point within his grasp. He could feel the weight of the entire game on his shoulders. Every step, every dribble brought him closer to fulfilling the dream that had been handed down to him. LeBron, now on defense, was ready. He knew Dante had just made a statement, but he wasn't going to make it easy. They circled each other on the court, both knowing that this one play would decide everything. Dante drove toward the basket with everything he had left, but LeBron wasn't giving up. He stayed right on him, challenging every move. With a quick crossover, Dante broke past LeBron, launching himself toward the hoop. The ball left his hands with perfect form, sailing through the air. Time seemed to slow down as it neared the basket. Dante's eyes were locked on the ball, and the crowd fell silent, as if holding its collective breath. Swish! The ball went through the net without a single bounce, and the arena erupted. Dante had scored the final point, beating LeBron at his own game. The moment was surreal. The young challenger had done the impossible. As Dante stood there breathing heavily, his chest swelling with pride, he looked over at LeBron, who was already walking toward him, with a nod of approval. LeBron extended his hand, a rare smile crossing his face. "You earned it, Dante." Dante, overcome with emotion, shook his hand firmly. "Thank you. For everything." In that instant, it was clear. Dante hadn't just defeated LeBron James in a game of basketball. He had won something far greater: respect, recognition, and the fulfillment of a dream. And in doing so, he had proven that even the greatest of legends can be challenged, and that no legacy, no matter how great, is ever truly finished. The buzzer sounded, signaling the end of the game, but the atmosphere in the arena was electric. The crowd was on its feet, erupting in a mixture of awe and disbelief. Dante had done the unthinkable. Not only had he held his own against LeBron, but he had defeated the king in a one-on-one game, in front of thousands of spectators. The impossible had become reality. As Dante stood at the center of the court, catching his breath, he could hardly process what had just happened. The roar of the crowd filled his ears, but his mind was racing with emotions he couldn't fully comprehend. He had come here with nothing more than a dream, and in a matter of minutes, he had turned that dream into a tangible victory. LeBron, ever the sportsman, walked toward Dante with a look of deep respect in his eyes. The king wasn't known for giving compliments lightly, but there was something undeniable in the way he regarded the young challenger. "You did it, man," LeBron said, offering a firm handshake. "You've got the heart, the skill, and the mentality. That was some of the best one-on-one I've ever played." Dante, still in disbelief, shook LeBron's hand, humbled by the praise. He hadn't expected to win. He had only hoped to challenge himself, to prove that the legacy of his father was still alive in him. But now, standing next to the greatest player of all time, he realized he had done more than just play a game. "What does this mean for you, Dante?" LeBron asked, his voice thoughtful. "You've shown the world what you're capable of, but what's next for you?" Before Dante could answer, the stadium lights dimmed and the screen above the court flickered on. A voice echoed over the loudspeakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for a special announcement." The crowd fell silent, curiosity building. What could be happening now? Dante looked around puzzled. LeBron, too, seemed confused. The screen revealed a message. Tonight's game was not just about basketball. It was a test for the future of the game, and the future has arrived. Suddenly, the lights blared back on, and a new figure emerged from the shadows of the court. It was none other than Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. The crowd gasped in surprise. "Dante Carter," Adam Silver began, his voice resonating throughout the arena. "You've proven yourself tonight, not just as a player, but as a symbol of what the next generation of basketball will look like. Your determination, your heart, your skill, all of it has captured the imagination of this sport. And we are proud to announce that, effective immediately, you will be joining the NBA as the newest member of the league." The crowd exploded into cheers, the noise deafening. Dante's eyes widened in disbelief. This wasn't just a win. It was a new beginning. LeBron stood by him, smiling. "You've earned it, Dante. This is just the start. Now go show the world what you're made of." In that moment, everything changed. Dante had gone from being a hopeful fan to becoming part of the very league he had watched and dreamed about for years. The shock was almost too much to process, but one thing was clear. The future of basketball had just arrived, and it was wearing Dante Carter's name. As the crowd continued to roar, Dante stood at the center of the court, the weight of the moment sinking in. He had just been offered a spot in the NBA, but the significance of it all was overwhelming. His journey, his struggles, and his father's unfulfilled dream had all led to this single moment. Yet, despite the glory and the celebration, Dante knew this was only the beginning. LeBron, having seen it all, stepped forward once more, placing a hand on Dante's shoulder. "This is the easy part, Dante. The real test is what comes next." Dante nodded, his mind still processing the whirlwind of events. He had dreamed of this day for as long as he could remember, but now that it was here, the magnitude of it all was beginning to settle in. He wasn't just a fan anymore. He was an NBA player, but he had a long road ahead of him. "You've got talent," LeBron continued, his voice firm yet kind. "But talent alone won't take you to the top. It's about work ethic, consistency, and most importantly, staying humble. You've got the heart, but now you have to prove it every day." Dante took in LeBron's words, understanding the wisdom behind them. This wasn't just about the game. It was about growth, responsibility, and the pressure of representing not just himself, but everyone who had supported him along the way. The cameras were still rolling, the lights still shining brightly, but the world around Dante seemed to pause. He thought of his father, Marcus Carter, who had never gotten the opportunity to show what he could do on the grand stage. Dante's victory wasn't just for him. It was for Marcus too. But now, with a new chapter ahead, it wasn't just about fulfilling a legacy. It was about forging his own path. Dante turned back to LeBron, his resolve clear. "I'm ready, LeBron. I'm going to work hard every day to prove I belong." LeBron smiled, clearly impressed. "I believe you, Dante. But remember, it's not about proving something to others. It's about proving it to yourself. Every time you step on that court, give it everything. Don't play for the recognition. Play for the love of the game." Dante nodded once more, the weight of his words sinking in. He had spent so many years idolizing the players he looked up to, thinking that reaching the top was the ultimate goal. But now he understood. It wasn't just about the accolades or the contracts. It was about the journey, the dedication, and the passion that drove every player to be great. As the night began to wind down and the lights of the arena slowly dimmed, Dante felt a deep sense of gratitude and determination. He had been given the opportunity of a lifetime, but now the real work began. He was no longer just a fan with a dream. He was a player with a purpose. And in that moment, Dante knew that the most important lesson he had learned wasn't about the fame, the spotlight, or even the NBA itself. It was about staying true to his roots, remembering the lessons of humility and hard work, and understanding that success wasn't just about reaching the top. It was about how you carried yourself when you got there. With a final glance at the court, Dante stepped off the floor, ready to face the next chapter of his life. The journey ahead would be difficult, but one thing was certain: he was ready to take it on. As the arena began to clear and the buzz of excitement faded into the background, Dante took a moment to reflect on everything that had just happened. The cheers, the lights, the unexpected twist. It all felt like a dream. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The journey he had just completed was a testament to everything he had worked for. A young man, once just a fan in the crowd, had transformed into an NBA player, not because of luck, but because of hard work, determination, and a refusal to give up on his dream. Dante had proved that with enough perseverance, even the most impossible dreams could come true. Looking around the emptying arena, Dante knew this wasn't just his victory. It was a message to anyone who had ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or too small to achieve greatness. It was proof that no matter where you start, no matter what obstacles you face, the path to success is always within reach if you're willing to work for it. As he walked toward the exit, he couldn't help but think about how many others out there were just like him. Dreaming, hoping, pushing through every challenge life threw at them. And he wanted them to know one thing: never stop believing in yourself. If you take one thing away from Dante's story, it's this: your dreams are worth fighting for. Whether you're aiming for a championship, pursuing a career, or simply chasing happiness, the road will be tough. There will be moments of doubt, obstacles that seem insurmountable, and times when it feels like giving up is the only option. But just like Dante, you have the strength inside you to rise above it all. No dream is too big. No challenge is too great. If you keep pushing, keep believing, and keep working, the world will recognize your worth. Dante didn't just fight for himself. He fought for every person who's ever had a dream. And his story is a reminder that we can all achieve the extraordinary if we refuse to quit. So, to anyone out there watching, keep going. Whatever it is that you're working toward, don't stop. Your time is coming. And before we end, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay inspired, because there's so much more coming your way. Stay tuned for more incredible stories, and remember, your dreams are just the beginning. Keep pushing and never give up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.